Denver voters will decide on several ballot issues this fall, including sports betting and retaining state revenue. Plus, candidates vie for Denver School Board. We'll look at the November 5th coordinated election on this edition of Denver Decides. If you haven't received your ballot in the mail yet, you can download an interactive sample ballot at denvervotes.org to follow along. You'll find it in the What's on the Ballot section. All of the issues on this ballot were referred to the voters by the legislators. With the help of the Colorado Blue Book, the Denver Local Ballot Question Guide, and the League of Women Voters, we'll show you some pros and cons to consider. Going in ballot order, the first issue on the ballot is Proposition CC. This proposition would allow the state to keep and spend all of the revenue it annually collects, beginning in the 2019-2020 state budget year. The state is not currently allowed to keep and spend under Colorado law. Proposition CC would require that any money the state government keeps over its existing revenue limit be spent for public schools, higher education, and transportation projects instead of being refunded to taxpayers. It would also require an annual independent audit to show how the retained revenues are spent. Here are the pros and cons for Proposition CC.
Proponents say Proposition CC provides more money for critical investments in Colorado's future without raising tax rates. While Colorado currently ranks in the top third of states in household income, it ranks in the bottom third in per-pupil public spending. By allowing the state to keep the money it already collects, the measure provides needed funding for K-12 education, higher education, and transportation. Proponents also say Proposition CC preserves the citizens' right to vote on any new tax increases. Because voter approval is required on any new tax proposals, state government spending will remain limited. Many counties, cities, and school districts have previously adopted similar measures as this proposal.
Opponents say Proposition CC results in higher taxes by permanently eliminating all state TABOR refunds required by the Colorado Constitution. TABOR is the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. Taxpayers are being asked to sacrifice their refunds to pay for programs that should already be funded within the state budget. The state government has already raised fees and tolls and increased its revenue faster than inflation and state population growth. Proposition CC will cause government to expand at an even faster pace. Opponents also say Proposition CC continues to erode taxpayer protections. The state government is asking voters to give up refunds of unknown amounts forever. And while education and transportation may benefit from this proposal, the legislature has not outlined any specific projects. The legislature could shift funds to other programs in the future rather than education and transportation.
Next up is Proposition DD. This proposition would authorize and regulate sports betting in Colorado to fund water projects. It would authorize a 10% state tax on the net proceeds through licensed casinos. Sports betting taxes and fees would be used to create a dedicated source of funding for water projects and water-related obligations. It would also pay for the regulation of sports betting and for gambling addiction services. This would raise up to $29 million annually. Here are the pros and cons for Proposition DD.
Those in favor of Proposition DD say water is a scarce resource in Colorado and demand will continue to increase as the state's population grows. Colorado's economy and way of life, from urban cities to agricultural communities, will suffer if the state cannot meet its water demands. Revenue from taxes on legalized sports betting would provide much-needed financial support to protect the state's water resources. Proponents also say many Coloradans bet on sporting events now, but because that activity is illegal, they use black market bookies and websites which are not subject to oversight or regulation. Legalizing sports betting in Colorado will create consumer protections for people who place sports bets, ensuring that they receive their winnings and do not fall victim to fraud or abuse.
Those opposed say Proposition DD puts no limits on the amount a person can bet on sports, making it easy to lose a lot of money with just the touch of a button on a smartphone. Of the millions in potential revenue, only $130,000 each year is dedicated to gambling addiction services. and this amount does not grow with an increase in sports betting activity. This small amount of money may not be enough to help people who are harmed by the legalization of sports betting in Colorado. Opponents also say Proposition DD tries to tackle Colorado's water needs without providing enough detail or money. Specific water projects are not identified, and some may have potential unintended consequences for the environment and some communities. Additionally, Proposition DD will pay for only a portion of the Colorado Water Plan.
Now for the city issues. Referred question 2A asks if the charter of the City and County of Denver should be amended to create the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure. It would require the department to perform the powers and duties formerly performed by the Department of Public Works. It would also assign to the department new powers and duties regarding transportation services, transportation safety programs, and non-motorized transportation facilities.
Those in favor of referred question 2A say over the past decade, Denver's population has grown by more than 20%. And every weekday, our population swells even more as people from all over the metro area commute to jobs throughout the city. As our roadways become more congested and traffic fatalities continue to mount, it is critical that we reposition city government to better address the demands being placed on our transportation system today and in the future. And they say the new department would accelerate and enhance new transportation-related functions such as mobility services, safety programs, and pedestrian and bicycle facilities. They would also work to reduce the high percentage of single-occupancy vehicle commuters.
No arguments against this question were submitted.
Referred question 2B asks if the city charter be amended to remove from the Department of General Services the management and control of facilities owned by the city for theater, concert, auditorium, or arena purposes. The responsibility of managing these facilities would instead be assigned to the agency known as Denver Arts and Venues.
Those in favor of referred question 2B say the proposed charter amendment simply clarifies the role of Arts and Venues as an independent agency within the City and County of Denver to reflect long-standing practice. Since the 1960s, the agency, formerly Theaters and Arenas, has managed municipal facilities, including those used for theater, auditorium, or concert purposes, via delegated authority from the Department of General Services. This change does not create a new charter department. Rather, this administrative change codifies current practices and reporting. No additional positions or resources will be needed for this administrative change.
No arguments against this question were submitted.
Referred question 2C asks if the city charter be amended to add emergency medical technician, or EMT, as a rank in the fire department. It would also allow the chief of the fire department to assign an assistant chief to the duties of shift commander.
Those in favor of referred question 2C say the proposed changes will allow the Denver Fire Department to operate more effectively and efficiently. The rank of EMT within the Denver Fire Department would allow the department to more efficiently staff the medical unit. The cost savings would allow for increased hours of operation and the possibility of expanded services in additional identified high call volume areas. The rank of shift commander in the Denver Fire Department also increases efficiency within the department's operation division. It would ensure a higher margin of safety for firefighters.
No arguments against this question were submitted.
Referred question 2D asks if the city charter be amended to require elected officials to maintain residency in Denver throughout the term of their office. And if the elected official is a district council member, that person must reside in the district throughout the term of their office.
Those in favor of referred question 2D say this measure closes a loophole in the wording of the charter that currently would not prevent any of the city's elected officials to move out of the city or the district represented by that official after taking office. They say this is merely a common sense clarification of the intent of having representative government, that the officials representing you also live in your district or city, and if they move, the office is declared vacant and filled with a qualified office holder.
No arguments against this question were submitted.
Those are the issues you'll be voting on this fall. You can get more information about the state and city ballot measures. All Denver households with registered voters will get a local ballot question guide. They will be mailed by the Denver Elections Division, and the Colorado Blue Book will be mailed by the Secretary of State's office. In addition, you can get information on these issues from the League of Women Voters of Denver and of Colorado. Go to lwvdenver.org and lwvcolorado.org. Also, the Denver Decides partners sponsored a forum for Proposition CC and DD. You can watch the forums on Denver 8 TV or online at denverdecides.org. You can also watch forums for all of the candidate races. Now, here are the candidates running for school board in ballot order and where you can get more information about them.
Denver residents in all 5 school board districts can vote for Denver Public Schools Board of Directors at large. There are 3 candidates running for that office: Natella Menutseva, Natella for Colorado.com, Alexis Minokal Harrigan, Alexis for DPS.com, and Tay Anderson, tayanderson.org. In the southeast part of town, in District 1, the candidates for Denver Public Schools Board of Directors are Diana Romero Campbell, Diana for DPS.com, Radhika Nath, rodfored.org, and Scott Balderman, scottforschools.org. Voters in the northwest part of town will choose between 3 candidates for Board of Directors District Number 5. Tony Curcio for denverkids.com, Brad Lorvik, Brad for denverschools.com, and Julie Benuelos, Julie for dps.com.
For information on where to vote and other information on the voting process, see the inserts sent along with your ballot or visit denvervotes.org. Remember, in order for your vote to count, be sure your ballot arrives by 7 p.m. on Election Day, Tuesday, November 5th. Thanks for watching, and be sure to exercise your right as an American and vote.